have lots of stormy weather to get through. Some Canadians needing an umbrella and others needing a shovel. It's great to have you along with us. I'm Rachel Schoutsen. We're going to kick off this forecast across eastern Canada. What we're looking at here is rain moving through cottage country out towards Kingston, Cornwall, Ottawa, Montreal region. You have rainfall warnings in place for about 40 to 60 millimeters of rain. We also see a bit of a system coming down towards the Windsor region. It's interesting. It does look like London, Brantford out towards Toronto, mainly staying dry today. Niagara region included in that, and then just soaked out towards Quebec City and equally as soaked out into Atlantic Canada as well. As we take a look at some of these conditions up and down the St. Lawrence today, a little on the warm side for mid-October, but very wet, windy conditions too. This afternoon, 12 degrees in Toronto, Hamilton, a little bit below seasonal here. We're 9 degrees in Barrie, 8 in Huntsville. Spotty showers are likely through cottage country. Heavier, more persistent rain, Kingston, Cornwall, out towards Ottawa, and then we'll see some more of those persistent showers too out towards the Windsor region. Now, as we focus in on some snow, look at this here. This takes you into Sunday morning. So Saturday overnight, some colder air comes in, another reinforcing shot of it. The northerly wind sets up. It's going to be quite cool tomorrow with that northerly wind, some gusts to about 50 kilometers an hour. And then look at this here. Just on the cusp of Barry's Bay, Petawawa, Ontario, we see this burst of snow. So this certainly shows you that those Arctic doors, they have opened. The colder air, the colder influence, it really is affecting so many Canadians. So you can see it here on Sunday. These are the daytime highs. It does get back up to 8 degrees in Parry Sound. So you're starting off the morning quite cold, likely below the freezing mark, but up to 8. So, you know, at least with some sunshine, that'll feel okay. 9 degrees in Toronto, 6 in Kingston, 5 in Ottawa, looking at the potential for some showers sticking around. And then we will see going into Monday morning, one of our coldest mornings yet, south of the 401 within southern Ontario, with the potential for frost really widespread. You can see the first frost in Ontario for the south usually comes right in towards the mid of October. Windsor, it's more towards the end of October. So we are right on track to start seeing and feeling that real cold air. Now, as we take you into Atlantic Canada, fairly mild, but windy and wet. That certainly is your forecast all weekend long. We really don't see a solid clear out until about Tuesday. So 16 degrees today in Charlottetown, 19 in Truro, wet weather right across Newfoundland. That's where some of the rainfall warnings are. You can see it really is punch after punch when it comes to these systems. Soaking wet as we look overnight tonight in through tomorrow morning across the Maritimes and then into the north of Newfoundland. And then Sunday, this sort of lingers. Another reinforcing shot of rain into Monday morning right across Nova Scotia. And then Tuesday, we finally see this clear out. So as we look at some of the rainfall totals, heaviest amounts south side of Newfoundland, but right across Nova Scotia, we are talking 30 to 50 millimeters of rain. So a very wet forecast for you. Have that umbrella on standby. Have you been thinking about waste reduction this week? We've had some special programming here on the Weather Network. It has been Waste Reduction Week today, the last day of it, and we wanted to share with you some thoughts on recycling, garbage, and the green bin. I know sometimes my husband and I debate what goes where, so we have some of the right answers for you. Marta looked into that. Where does the pizza box go? And what about your coffee cup? No longer a debate. Here's the answer.
You've just had your morning cup of joe, and you think to yourself, in which bin does it go? The blue bin, of course. Wrong. Coffee cups and lids are among the top 5 incorrectly recycled items. Coffee cup lids are recyclable as long as they aren't black colored, but the cups are often lined with a thin plastic layer which makes them non-recyclable. Up there with coffee cups, grease-stained takeout containers. Containers contaminated with food waste are not recyclable. Containers must be washed out, and grease-stained pizza boxes can go into your green bin. Leftover scraps and food also don't belong in the blue bin. Food does not go in the garbage or recycling, but rather in the green bin. Batteries can be recycled, but they're not accepted in the blue bin recycling program. They're considered hazardous waste and need to be recycled separately. Contact your local hardware store to find an electronic waste recycler in your area. And if you're budding out, those too belong in the garbage, not on the sidewalk or in the streets. Cigarette butts and gum are the most common items found in Toronto's streets, where they cause damage to the natural environment and can cause harm to the ecosystem. Canadians produce 3.2 million tons of plastic waste each year, and only 9% of that is recycled. So you're probably thinking, how can I, one person, make a difference? Before throwing out an item, consider extending the life of the item by reusing it or repurposing it. Be conscious of your purchases. Pay attention to plastic packaging. And finally, it's important to be conscious of the end of life of an item. There is a proper way of disposing of it to lessen the environmental impact.
And now we know where everything goes. And Marta also talked about extending the life. And Nathan Coleman had a really interesting idea on how to reuse tea bags for some useful items around the home. So here's Nate. It's that time of year. Scare Your Weather is back. All you have to do is use the hashtag #ScareYourWeather on Twitter and tag the Weather Network and Tim Hortons and showcase what Halloween is looking like in your backyard. Or maybe you want to show us some eerie weather, maybe some lingering fog, or maybe it's just snow. That can be scary enough for some Canadians. So how do you connect? How do you enter? All you have to do is go online to Twitter. You can win this Tim Hortons prize pack. You can tag me, tag the Weather Network, tag Tim Hortons as well. We would love to see your eerie weather in Scare Your Weather. It certainly has been a top weather story. Storm Babette, also looking at Tammy churning in the Atlantic Ocean. It has been the fourth most active hurricane season in the Atlantic. That's another one to watch. Big impact to the Caribbean islands this weekend. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Weather Network. I'm Rachel Schoutsen. We're going to talk about the windy and the wet forecast across the east this weekend, and then the snowy forecast in the west. People in Calgary should be finding their shovel because you certainly will be needing it this week. As we look at Ontario, temperatures are a little bit below seasonal here. 14 degrees in Ottawa. You got some showers today. We have rainfall warnings in Montreal, rainfall warnings in Newfoundland. We're actually quite warm in Charlottetown today, but a temperature cool down is coming. But many Canadians in the east, you will need an umbrella. It looks like the Greater Toronto region, you actually could be staying a little dry today, but certainly feeling that cloudy influence. We have a bigger amount of rainfall, more likely Ottawa out towards Montreal, Kingston, Cornwall, you're included in that. And then we also have another system coming into the Windsor region, which will bring some rain this afternoon, and then huge amounts of rain out into Atlantic Canada. It really is system after system, punch after punch of rain. You are looking at a soaking forecast today, tomorrow, and even into Monday for some regions. So here's the rainfall warning right across Newfoundland. We also have the wreck house wind warnings in place. Really gusty conditions, over 100 kilometers an hour. And some of these rainfall totals, well, close to 75 along the southern shores of Newfoundland, 30 to 50 across the Avalon, 30 to 50 for the majority of Nova Scotia. We're just looking at some really wet conditions. It feels like a fall storm coming through, and you can see it here. The southerly winds gusting almost to 80, 90 kilometers an hour this afternoon and evening across Newfoundland. We're going to see something interesting going in through tomorrow. More of a northerly wind sets up, and that targets places like PEI, Charlottetown, and Summerside. Really breezy conditions before the winds finally ease going into Monday. So a stormy forecast, certainly that is for you in places like Charlottetown. Finally seeing the sunshine into Tuesday. You can see that temperature drop into Monday. Fredericton, Monday looks like you're clearing out a little bit, and then across Newfoundland, some really wet weather as we go throughout this weekend and into Monday. Now, in my opinion, I would rather have this wet weather than the snow. Temperature change is about to happen across the west. We're 11 degrees in Calgary and Edmonton today, but look at this. We are looking at this Arctic front coming through. That's going to open up the doors to some much colder air, and snow is going to develop right across Alberta and even into places like Regina as we go throughout this week, and we'll chat more about this coming up next. This is what the week looked like. Pretty calm in St. John's until about now. That forecast certainly doesn't hold anymore. Big stormy system coming through. And just as we're on the topic of earlier this week, I just want to show you the temperatures on Thursday across southern Alberta. Wow. 25 degrees in Lethbridge, 26 in Brooks, 22.5 in Red Deer. It was warm. It was the last hurrah of summer, and I promise you it was the last one, because look what's coming. We are looking at this cold front moving through from the north of the prairies, moving down right across the south, and we are talking snow right through Revelstoke, Calgary, Medicine, Regina. This swath could leave Canadians with about 10 to 30 centimeters of snow. 30. That's a lot for October, I know. And this is all coming as we go late Sunday and in through Monday. And Calgary, you will really be in the crosshairs for persistent snow over the next week. So as we take a look at some of those temperatures today, it certainly is not snowing today in Calgary or Edmonton. 15 degrees in Medicine Hat, 12 in Regina, pretty comfortable. But what we are going to see is this area of high pressure move away to the south. That fades away. And this cold front here, this is what allows essentially the cold air to move in. Picture someone opening up 2 double doors and then all of this cold air just rushing through. That's essentially what is going to happen. That is cold air straight from the Arctic, and that meets up with some moisture, some upsloping conditions courtesy of that area of low pressure to the south, and it puts Calgary in really the perfect position to see some of this snow. So goodbye to those temperatures over 20 degrees and hello to over 20 centimeters of snow. That is likely in the forecast. Looks like Tuesday some of that snow moves into southern areas of Saskatchewan, and that's where a place like Regina could get into some of those flurries. But look at this here. What a temperature change. 8 degrees on Sunday, and then you are right down below seasonal over the next week. You can see that influence as well in some places like Regina, potential for some mixing on Tuesday. It looks like Winnipeg, the cold air is not quite going to get you. Temperatures are going to stay above that freezing mark, and you're likely to see rain as that front comes through on Monday. Now, as we look at BC, what a wet forecast. The atmospheric river, it did not give up this week, absolutely soaking some areas over 300 millimeters of rain. This morning, overcast conditions, but comfortable, warmer as we head into the afternoon. And you can see Vancouver, you're left with a sunny day as you go Sunday into Monday. Next chance for some showers comes into your backyard on Tuesday. Now, speaking of showers, widespread rain right across eastern Canada. We have rainfall warnings across Newfoundland and for the Metro Montreal region. We are looking at mainly a dry day today for Toronto, but very wet Kingston out towards Ottawa, and then another reinforcing shot of some wet weather for you in places like Windsor. Here's a look at the rainfall warning across Newfoundland. Wreck house wind warnings in place too. We are looking at huge amounts of rain, 50 to 75 millimeters. This takes into account all of the rainfall that moves in into Monday, 30 to 50 generally across places like Nova Scotia. Now, if you stay with us, a sneak peek at the winter pattern, that is coming up next. And we're going to talk about that because a place like Calgary is certainly about to experience that flip. But first, earlier this week on the Weather Network, we released a little sneak peek at the winter pattern. So meteorologist Tyler Hamilton is going to take you through that one first. And remember, when we look at a pattern like that, it really is just big picture. Now we look under the microscope at day-to-day weather, and that's when things can really change. Let's focus right now on what's happening across the prairies. We are looking at this huge Arctic front settling in, and that opens up the doors to some pretty cold air. And that means this week Calgary is bracing for snow that you can shovel, snow that'll make it tough to drive in. And right now, Connor has a report on how they're planning to keep the roads clear. All right, and as we look at our conditions in Calgary today, 11 degrees, certainly not snowing today, but wait for it. Here it comes. We take you into Tuesday, -4, feeling like -6. A region like Calgary could be picking up to 30 centimeters of snow through this week. Now, it's great to have you along with us. You are watching the Weather Network. I'm Rachel Schoutsen. Are you ready for this? Yeah, we're talking a decent amount of snow coming across Alberta. You have a calm weekend today and tomorrow. Not too bad, but it's all Sunday night in through Monday. That's when this area of low pressure comes through. A cold front opens up the Arctic doors, and we will have accumulating snow. So I know this range here, 10 to 29 centimeters of snow. That is quite wide. I know you would rather us really narrow it down and pinpoint how much snow you will see, right? But this is taking into account really over the next week, over the next 7 days, the potential for about 30 centimeters of snow in Calgary. It's not out of the question. We're seeing upsloping conditions. Essentially, this area of low pressure comes through this cold front. This is the one that sort of opens up those Arctic doors, and you can see Sunday in through Monday, that's when that snow really starts to filter in across the south of Alberta. Monday morning, Monday afternoon, you will be into the snow. Regina, looks like Tuesday you'll see some flurries fly. So temperature-wise this afternoon, not bad in Winnipeg and Regina today. Still feels like fall. Calgary, Edmonton, 11 degrees. Temperatures will be dropping, though. Vancouver, welcome to some clearer days. Wow, what a wet forecast over the last week in your backyard. You can see the temperature difference, though, by the time we see Tuesday. -4 in Calgary. There's the flurries. -3 on Wednesday. 2 in Winnipeg. The cold air certainly coming your way. And look at that 7-day forecast for Calgary. Now stay with us. The windy and wet forecast in the east is next. Unfortunately, another stormy weekend in our backyard, but it's interesting because it looks like the rain isn't really going to target the Greater Toronto region, but we certainly will feel the influence of all of these areas of low pressure with the wind, the temperature cool down, maybe a few spotty showers, but it certainly is not a washout of a weekend, and I'm happy to explain all the details to you right now. I'm Rachel Schoutsen. You're watching the Weather Network. Thanks for being with us. As we focus in on the GTA, right here, Golden Horseshoe, you can see showers to the north of us, showers well off to the east of us, and then even down to Windsor, we're going to see an area of low pressure develop and bring rain towards Windsor and Sarnia. But for Toronto proper, it does look like we're going to stay mainly dry today, and that extends out towards Burlington, Hamilton, down towards Niagara Falls. A few spotty showers across cottage country, but overall, we're sort of in a bit of a donut hole of dryness. A lot of rain around us, but we're right in that hole where the showers don't seem to be falling as we go throughout the day today. So as we focus in on some of the temperatures, this is a touch below seasonal. Technically, Toronto should be 14 for this time of year. You can see the single digits up towards Huntsville and Barrie, and the wind. The wind will certainly be coming through, and that is not going to feel too pleasant. And that's what's really going to rip a lot of that beautiful fall foliage down. You can see the northerly flow. In October, when we get northerly wind, you know that's tapping into some cooler air. So some of these gusts, 40 kilometers an hour, that certainly is going to be breezy. Some of the peak winds today happening just around dinner time, and then the wind will become stronger as we go into tomorrow. So also a day where you have to bundle up, lots of layers, gloves for the kids for sure, gloves for yourself if you're out early walking the dog or going for a run. As we take you Saturday overnight, this is the feels like. So this is the wind chill. This is some of the coldest air we've seen yet this season. And look at the icons here. In a place like Huntsville, that's a little bit of snow, potential for some mixing. So what we're seeing is with this moisture in the atmosphere, it meets up with the northerly wind, the colder air that comes in. And yes, up towards the Kawartha area, we are talking snow into Sunday morning. So here's a look at some of the temperatures. 3 degrees in Barrie, 5 in Toronto. This is generally between 7 and 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. Temperatures warming up, single-digit highs by the time we get into Sunday afternoon. So that northerly flow does bring the temperatures down. But you can see here, with this bulk of moisture off to the east of us, the northerly wind sets up, and up towards Barry's Bay, north of Bancroft, just outside of Petawawa, Ontario, we are talking snow with this. Further to the south, down towards Cobourg, 401 stretch, this will be staying as rain, and generally Toronto will be staying dry. And it looks like we could see a few peaks of sunshine going into tomorrow, but that north wind, it's not going to make it feel like a beautiful fall day. Certainly bundle up tomorrow if you're going to check out the fall colors. You can see, though, those winds going from 40 kilometers an hour down to 14 by the time we get into Sunday evening. And then as the air remains pretty calm, cold, not a lot of cloud cover, those are the right conditions for some frost to develop. So here's a look. Sunday afternoon, only 9 degrees in Toronto. And then as we take you into Monday, likely to see the first frost heading down towards the 401 corridor Monday morning. I know it doesn't really feel like it's been that long, but as we look at the satellite imagery, this shows us the cloud cover. The last time we saw things looking mainly clear like this over top of southern Ontario, that's all the way back to Tuesday, October the 3rd. We have seen mainly cloudy days or some rain in the forecast every single day since then. I know it doesn't really seem like it's been that bad, but I guess it has. The weather stats certainly do not lie. But we could have some more sunshine in the forecast tomorrow, which is some great news. But also tomorrow we have a single-digit high. So that means the colder air is coming in. And the last time we had a single-digit high at Pearson, we have to look back to May 2nd. Of this year. So since May, we have not seen a single-digit high at Pearson. Welcome winter. It certainly feels like it's rushing in. And if you can stay with us, just in about 10 minutes, meteorologist Tyler Hamilton's going to join us, and we're going to talk about the winter pattern and also the epic snowfall that is coming into Calgary this week. As we focus in on your weather in your backyard across the GTA, there's a lot of rain happening across southern Ontario, especially out towards Ottawa and then over towards Montreal. But it does seem like Toronto, the GTA, is sort of in this donut hole of drier air, which is some good news. And we're not really seeing much rain in the forecast today. The winds will be strong, certainly out of the north, gusting to about 40 kilometers an hour. But the overall picture when it comes to rain, certainly not a big story for places like the city of Toronto. We could see perhaps a few sprinkles of showers, but overall the bulk of it is off to the east of us. This model here putting us in the potential for 5 to 10 millimeters of rain. I think it's overdoing it a little bit. Most of the new model runs are keeping the Golden Horseshoe down towards the Niagara region dry over the next 24 hours. As we look at the temperatures this afternoon, still holding on to the double digits for Toronto, Hamilton, and down into St. Catharines. Look, the cooler air already sneaking into cottage country. The northerly wind will certainly feel it this afternoon. Some gusts to about 45 kilometers an hour in Barrie, 42 for the city of Toronto. Things are going to feel quite brisk today. The north wind helps to cool the temperatures down. And as we go into tomorrow morning, looks like we could see some snow. Not in the city of Toronto, don't worry, but up towards cottage country, places like the Kawarthas, north of Bancroft, a little bit of snow is possible. This year is the Sunday morning temperatures, 3 in Barrie. It's really through the overnight, especially with the wind chill. That's when those temperatures go below freezing, and you can see here this swath of snow starts to develop. So winter certainly starting to show up in Ontario. Many portions of Canada are getting their first real dose of winter as we go throughout this week. You can see, though, as that cold air comes in, it does clear out a lot of that cloud cover. Cold air typically drier, and that helps those sunny skies blossom. So we will see some sunshine tomorrow, but it will be breezy. But we will not be seeing any rain on Sunday, so that is some good news. Northerly winds start to ease by the time we get into Sunday evening. You can see temperature-wise, we were talking about those single-digit highs. They are certainly widespread across southern Ontario. Oakville, Hamilton may squeak in the double digits just barely, and then it does look like frost starts to develop as we go into Monday morning. Quickly, before we go here, just want to show you the 7-day forecast for Toronto. The cold air is coming, yes, but a rebound on the way midweek with some rain. It certainly has been a top weather story